My first knowledge of the meaning of imperialism, which will be an issue in this case, was a vivid recollection of my father's opposition to the Spanish-American War and his insistence on the right of the Cuban and Philippine peoples to their independence. He joined an anti-imperialist league to protest against our country embarking on the evil path of imperialism. Which we will prove began at that time. The conditions in the textile towns of New Hampshire and Massachusetts. Contributed to my later joining the Communist Party, which, as Mr. Lane says, concentrates on the recruiting of workers in industry, huge gray mills, like prisons. Barrack-like company boarding houses, long hours, low wages, long periods of slack. The prosperous owner lived in the center of atoms. Massachusetts, and rode around in his fine carriage with its beautiful horses. I saw lard instead of butter on neighbors' tables, children without underwear in cold New England winters. A girl scalped by an unguarded machine in a mill across the street from our school. I saw an old man weeping as they put him in the lockup as a tramp. Then we came to live in the drab South Bronx. Near the New Haven Railroad's roundhouse, in a cold water, unheated, gas-lit flat. Casualties and accidents were high among the railroad workers. Children were maimed as they gathered coal in the yards in bad times. My mother helped women in the neighborhood who could not afford a doctor when a baby came. Asterisk. Yes, I was greatly troubled by all this. Why did good hard-working people suffer so? Why were men who were willing, able, and anxious to work, denied jobs? Why was there so much unemployment? Why were there rich people who apparently did little but enjoyed life? I hated poverty. I saw my mother humiliated when unpaid grocery bills could not be met and the landlord stood at the door demanding his rent. Asterisk. I joined a debating society in P. S9 in the Lower Bronx. I won a medal in a debate on the subject. Should the government own the mines? I said, yes, it should. This was during the Great Anthracite Coal Strike in 1902. I attended Bronx. Socialist meeting in 1905. Later at the Harlem Socialist Club at 125th Street. My speaking career started in 1906 on the ambitious subject of women under socialism. Naturally, I drew heavily on authors, American women. Like Charlotte Pettingill and Susan B. Anthony, also on a book written in (1872) by Augustus Bebel, a socialist member of the German Reichstag. Written while he was in prison under Bismarck's anti-socialist law. It was first published here by the Socialist Labour Party in (1904). I am puzzled to see it on the government's list of documents. What relation it has to this indictment is hard to fathom, unless to advocate the full political economic, and social emancipation of women has become a form of advocacy of the overthrow of Government by force and violence under the government's interpretation of the Smith Act. But if this historic and economic study, which is very much out of date today, is to be finely tooth-combed for sentences which torn out of context can distort its meaning, this, we will prove. Can be done to any book, no matter what its purpose, even to the Bible, Shakespeare, or Gray's Anatomy. My youthful ambition, believe it or not, was to be a constitutional lawyer. Instead, I became a labor organizer. Then it was called an agitator. Or, by the press, one who stirred up the people. I was determined to do something about the bad conditions under which our family and all around us suffered. I have stuck to that purpose for 46 years. I consider in so doing I have been a good American. I have spent my life among the American workers all over this country. Slept in their homes, eaten at their tables. They are the majority of the people who have the inalienable right in our view to govern the country. We mean by workers, all who do useful work of hand or brain. My life work began when I joined the IWW, Industrial. Workers of the World, in 1906, a pioneer in industrial unions which flashed like a great comet across the horizon of the American labor movement for nearly 2 decades. I returned as an I WW organizer in 1912 to New England, my birthplace. where the IWW led historical textile strikes in Lawrence, Lowell, and New Bedford, Massachusetts. The strikes were unorganized. Largely foreign-born men and women whose wages were cut when their hours were reduced by Massachusetts law. Asterisk. In 1913 I was a leader in the Paterson, New Jersey silk strike. In 1916, in a strike of the iron ore miners on the Mesaba Range in Minnesota, where the mines are owned by the U. S. Street Trust, I will attempt to prove to you that it is. Not the communists who advocate and use force and violence. I saw it used in all of these labor struggles. Not by the workers but by police, company guards, and state militia. I saw workers clubbed, beaten, and shot down. I spoke. Asterisk. My travels as a communist speaker have taken me all over the country. I saw the fruits of a lawless, aggressive, brutal and ruthless capitalism which garnered profits for a few at the expense of the many. Our country is a rich and beautiful country. Fully capable of producing plenty for all, educating its youth and caring for its aged. We believe it could do this under socialism. I saw great forests cut down and the denuded land left with blackened stumps. Miles of topsoil blown and washed away, and fertile fields became like a desert. I have seen textile workers who wove beautiful woolen fabrics shivering for lack of warm clothing. and coal miners living in cold shacks in company towns, and steel towns that were armed camps. I saw men blacklisted, driven from town to town. Forced to change their names because they had dared to try to organize a union. We will prove to you that it is not the communists who have advocated or practiced force. And violence, but that it is the employing class which has done both throughout the history. Of my life in the American labor movement, like General Sherman Bell, who said in Colorado, during a miners' strike, to hell with habeas corpus, we'll give them postmortems. We will prove to you that. Asterisk. We will prove to you that it is nor we who flaunt the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But that has always been done by the employing class. We will prove that we are fighting here for our constitutional and democratic rights. Not to advocate force and violence, but to expose and stop its use against the people. We will demonstrate that in fighting for our rights. We believe we are defending the constitutional rights of all Americans. We believe we are acting as good Americans. Since 6 out of 11 of my writings in political affairs listed by the government deal with what is called defense. I will prove to you that this has been a part of my life work since 1907, before there was a Communist Party. For example, I distributed thousands of copies of a famous document in the 20s. Called Illegal Practices of the Department of Justice. Which is not among the government's exhibits of old-time documents, but which I would gladly offer to the jury. It was signed by 12 of the most prominent lawyers of that period. Including professors Frankfurter and Chaffee of Harvard and Francis Fisher Kane. Who resigned his post as United States Attorney in Philadelphia in protest against such proceedings. I early engaged in struggles to win free speech on the streets and in halls. This early identification with civil liberties led to my becoming a charter member of the American Civil Liberties Union in 1917, and later the organizer of the Workers' Defense Union. A delegate body from unions and fraternal organizations which furnished legal defense in political and labor prosecutions. We had plenty to do during the infamous 1920 Palmer Red Raids. We defended socialist, I defended socialists. Asterisk. I worked for 7 years in the unsuccessful struggles to save the lives of Sacco and Vanzetti. In the government's list of exhibits is an article I wrote in August. (1947) entitled Sacco and Vanzetti 20 Years After, in which I pointed out the worldwide belief in their innocence. Asterisk. Now I will show how and why I left the IWW and joined the Communist Party. This bears directly on the issue of forcible overthrow of the government that Mr. Lane spoke to you about this morning. After careful reflection, it became clear to me that the IWW was an anarcho-syndicalist. Organization. The IWW wanted to bring socialism within capitalism and then break through. The shell of capitalism by the general strike and the seizing and possession of industry. Now, it was precisely this position that I rejected.